Welcome to Sinister Heroes. I'm your host, Danny Iniquitous. Thank you for tuning in. If you're new to the channel, this is a channel about Dungeons and Dragons where we try and take a darker tone with everything we do here. So if you like edgy kind of content, definitely hit that like and subscribe button. A big thank you to our Patreon supporters. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. What you guys do is amazing. If you're interested in becoming a member of our Patreon, the link is in the description. And a big shout out to our good friends at Dice Legion. Use the promo code Sinister and get 10% off all your purchases. Also, we're doing a big push to hit 2,000 subscribers for the end of the year, and we're right on track to meet that goal, but we still can't do it without the rest of you joining up and hitting that subscribe button. So if you like us, if you've seen us a couple of times, definitely hit that subscribe button. Without further ado, we're going to jump into why the monk is incredible in a new 1D&D playtest. Okay, so the monk got a lot of things updated in the 6 playtest. One of the bigger things that you notice right off the bat is the martial arts die jumps up from starting at a D4 going up to a D10 to starting at a D6 going all the way up to a D12. So if you hit 11th level, which is pretty reasonable in a lot of campaigns, you'll be dealing 1d10 damage with your regular monk attacks, your unarmed strikes, or any of your monk weapons, which alone is a huge boost to what you do. Also, they changed some of their normal features. You get the new weapon mastery, so any kind of simple weapons that you use, you can pick 2, and that get that special martial weapons training for them that gives you the special abilities, which is great. You pick what you want, you pick whatever you think is best, and I think that's going to go over and extend into the Kensai weapons, giving you the availability to do a lot of stuff if they include the Kensai eventually in 1D&D. They changed the way key points work. They're no longer key points, they're discipline points, and it's under the heading of martial discipline. Now you still get to use them a lot in the same ways. You still use 1 after your regular attacks, and you can do flurry of blows, which gives you 2 unarmed strikes as a bonus action. You can also still get patient defense, which you spend 1 discipline point and take the dodge action as a bonus action. Or you can get step of the wind, which gives you the disengage and the dash action as a bonus action, and your jump distance is doubled for the turn. In this case, I imagine seeing a lot more of step of the wind than I see of anything else, because with disengage and dodge, disengage and dash, you can make quite a bit of difference, especially the higher level you go, because monks still get that movement speed increase as they level up. So that's a big improvement with what you do. So I can really see that happening more often than not. A bunch of monks jumping in, attack, step of the wind, run so far away that no one's going to be able to catch them, which is a great benefit and a cool new tactic to use the monk, which really gives you this skirmisher kind of a mindset. They changed Stunning Strike. Now, it previously was on any attack that you made, whether it was monk weapons or unarmed strikes, you can use a key point and make each one of those attacks a Stunning Strike. Now you can only use Stunning Strike once per turn. This, I think, is really in your benefit. The reason why I say this is because previously people would just dump so many key points into a flurry of blows in an attempt to stun somebody. So you'd go one whole round. If you landed all 4 attacks, you'd use all 4 to try and stun the target in the hopes to kind of make that happen. Again, con saves are a big issue. I hope they rectify that in the 1D&D when they release the new manuals for it, and they kind of give a better reasoning for Constitution to not be such a big save for monsters. But this is to prevent you from just wasting all of your key strikes in 1 or 2 turns. It can be very, very consuming when you do use Stunning Strike the way it was previously done, and this gives you the ability to kind of space that out and give yourself opportunities to deal with it and not really just waste it all in one shot. You also get Empowered Strikes. This used to give your monk weapons the magical properties and your unarmed strikes the magical properties to overcome resistances. Now, instead of doing that, you can choose to deal force damage instead of your normal unarmed strike damage. It's good because there aren't many monsters that resist force damage, and in the event you do fight something that resists force damage, you're going to get all of your attacks reduced, period. I don't think this is necessarily On paper, it's worse than it sounds because you really don't fight a lot of things that have resistance to force damage or are immune to force damage. It's very, very rare that you encounter those kinds of entities. Most of the campaigns you'll play out do not have those monsters in them, and you have to look really deep into the monster manual to really pull them out as DMs. So this really works out 9 times out of 10, but on paper, it seems like you're losing the availability just to go and overcome normal resistances with your regular melee attack. Hopefully they still keep Eldritch Claw Tattoo, which will compensate for this and give you magical attacks on your unarmed strikes, but that's all to be determined when everything comes out. This is where the monk starts to get really, really cool and just incredible. At 7th level, you get Heightened Metabolism, which is a new skill that gives you the ability to gain the benefits of a short rest for only resting for 1 minute, and you can do this once per long rest. That is huge. It's a full reset of your discipline points. If you're injured, you can roll some hit die. It's such a great benefit. It gives you this cool opportunity to go all out on one fight and then fully center yourself right before the boss fight and go in. If you're in a situation where a wizard is doing a ritual or someone else is doing something that might take some time, ask your DM, is this going to take a minute? If he says so, use this ability, restore everything, and then when the fight hits, go in there fully loaded and be really ready to take on basically anything. It's wildly strong and you get it super early on. You get another new ability at level 9 called Acrobatic Movement. Basically this lets you move across water or any other liquids without falling as long as you're not wearing armor or wielding a shield. This is kind of like that ninja run across water. It's thematic. It's one of those things that looks really, really cool. Though I highly doubt you'll be in a situation where you'll really need to use this. But in the event that something like that does occur, you will be able to make a great deal of distance in a very short period of time, considering how much your move speed increases level by level. This is passively on. This is always going. You can use this during adventuring and not only in a combat scenario. Adventuring is really where this is going to shine, but it does give you a cool way to mitigate some sort of obstacles that you do normally kind of encounter. You later get an increase to deflect missile, and this is at 13th level. But now you can deflect any range attack that deals any type of damage, not just bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing. So anything that hits you that has a ranged attack. I'm assuming it's an attack roll and not a saving throw, but that means anything that hits you that might be a spell, that does fire damage or anything, you can still do that same circumstance where you're reducing a great deal of damage down from whatever it initially was. At 13th level, I doubt they're going to hit you with something ranged that's going to deal around 20 damage. You're probably looking at something a little higher for like a direct attack maybe. But it also depends on what you're fighting. You might just be fighting someone that shit you with like a Ray of Frost or a Chromatic Orb or something. And even if it's at a higher level, you still have a great opportunity to deflect that right back to whoever sent it or whoever you wish to hit that damage. It's a cool improvement simply for the fact that it reduces the amount of damage you'll take from any ranged attack, which is a really cool benefit, which is again part of the big reason why I'll see a lot of people using Step of the Wind, because that dash and disengage will get them out of melee and far enough that if they do some sort of elemental or some sort of ranged attack, you have the chance to deflect not only the missile or the energy and reflect that on someone else, also just be able to reduce that damage so you're not getting crushed by it. The last two abilities you gain from the regular monk class are Superior Defense and Defy Death. Now, Superior Defense is strong. If you spend 3 discipline points as a bonus action, you become resistant to all damage except force damage for 1 minute or until you are incapacitated. That is a huge defensive boost to you. You get a whole minute, which is 10 turns of being resistant to all damage types except force. And there's no limit to how many times you can use this except the actual discipline points you have to use. Very strong, speaks for yourself. It's a cool ability. You get at 18th level. although this is probably something that would be a rarity for most people to see, that is still a very strong defensive ability, and at this kind of a level, stuff like that makes a huge difference. The last ability you get for the base monk class is Defy Death. If you drop to 0 hit points, you can spend 4 discipline points, roll 4 martial arts die, which again at this point is d12s, and add the dice together. Your number of hit points, instead of hitting 0, gets turned to that amount. And each time you use this feature after the first, it increases the discipline point cost by 2, and it gets reset on a short or a long rest. That can be a lot of hit points. It really could be 48 to 4, anywhere in between those wonderful numbers. The benefit here is, say you're in a fight and you drop, and you use this ability. You can then use your Heightened Metabolism after that fight and restore all of your discipline points, and still reset that discipline cost of Defy Death back to 4. And it only took you a minute. Like, defensively, it gets you a way out. I don't expect to see long death monks having the ability to use 1 key point and to come back with 1 HP. I'm pretty sure that's going to go to the wayside. But this is a very strong ability to come back. And with 4 D12s, you can come back long enough to maybe survive a hit, or maybe escape, or maybe do something. It's not like you're just going to be destined to just be crushed in one shot. You might have an opportunity here. Again, that all depends on a whole bunch of variables, but this is a huge defensive bonus that goes to every single monk. Again, it's 20th level, and at 20th level combat, you can drop pretty often, pretty quickly. The monsters you fight are pretty dangerous, so one wrong roll or one sequence of bad luck can really drop you almost at any point, especially if you're not like a barbarian or someone wearing full plate or magically enchanted plate that your AC is above 20. It's really a great way to keep you alive and keep you going. One of my favorite improvements is what they did with the Way of the Shadow, which is now the Warrior of Shadow. This is awesome. So right at level 3, you can cast Darkness by spending 1 discipline point, which previously was 2. But not only when you cast it with less discipline costs, you can see within the spell's area when you cast it. And that is awesome. That gives you advantage on all your attack rolls. That gives anyone's attack against you with disadvantage. That's a great way to make yourself tanky. That's a great way to keep yourself isolated. And you're fighting in complete darkness. There is terror happening to the enemies there. They can't see where these attacks are coming. And because they can't see you, they can't depict if you move in or out of their attack range, so they can't take opportunity attacks because they have to see you leave the area for that to happen. So you can just surround someone and just beat them and step out of their area, and they can swing at nothing until you go back in there and go hit them again. Very, very awesome. It's just such a huge bonus, and you can use 1 discipline point to cast that. On top of that, you gain dark vision 60 feet, and if you already have it, it gets increased to an additional 60 feet, and you know the minor illusion cantrip. This is a lot like the Shadow Sorcerer, but an improvement because you really get this ability to just invest in being in darkness and fighting your heart out while in it, which is so creepy, dastardly, and dangerous, and I love everything about that, and you get that right at Jump Street at level 3. At 6th level, Shadow Step stays basically the same, except whenever you use Shadow Step to teleport between dim light or darkness to another point within 60 feet that is in dim light or darkness, you then have advantage on your next melee attack you make before the end of the turn. What's important here is to understand what the setup is. You're using your bonus action, so that takes away your Step of the Wind and your Patient Defense. So once you use this, the intent is for you to use this to get into the fight, and then you're in it. You are in the thick of the fight. There is no escaping unless you risk getting hit anyway. Very, very rewarding of a very risky behavior, and I love that. This can work very, very well when you use your Shadow Arts and you get to cast darkness. You cast darkness on yourself, immediately putting yourself in dim light or darkness, and then you teleport 60 feet. So that way you bring that darkness with you. But this, again, is a little bit of a setup. So you have to cast darkness first because it is an action. You don't want to teleport yet because that's your bonus action and you lose that advantage if you start at the next turn. But it's a great way to set yourself up. Cast darkness far away, get close enough, teleport in with darkness, and start going crazy and use your advantage to the best of your ability. Later on, at 11th level, you get an improved Shadow Step. And now you can use Shadow Step. You spend 1 discipline point and you remove the requirement to be in dim light or darkness. You can just teleport 60 feet for 1 discipline point. On top of that, you make a bonus action unarmed strike immediately after the teleport. So that's included with the bonus action to step because you're still using Shadow Step. You still have advantage on that attack. So when you use this ability to improve it, you automatically add on that ability. This makes that setup even better, where you cast darkness on yourself and you wait a turn and then you use improved Shadow Step, get that extra attack in, and then jump in, punch twice, and you're pretty awesome. The final warrior shadow ability you get is Cloak of Shadows. This is high level. This is at level 17. This ability is perfect. I love this thing. First and foremost, you have to be in dim light or darkness to activate this, and it costs 3 discipline points. It ends early if you end a turn in bright light. That's specifically bright light. So just be wary for what that condition is, or if you're next to those particular flames or any spell that causes that in a specific area. But while this is on for 1 minute, you have the invisible condition. So you cannot be seen unless someone has true sight or blind sight or whatever kind of things give them availabilities to specifically notice invisible creatures. Secondly, you are partially incorporeal. You can move through creatures and objects as if they're a difficult terrain, but if you end your turn in there, you take 1d10 force damage. Here's the really kicker. Shadow Flurry. You can use your flurry of blows without expending any discipline points. So for this 1 minute, you can use flurry of blows on every single attack after the first one. The first one, again, is a bonus action, so you won't be able to use flurry of blows after that until the beginning of your next round. In which case, you can do 4 attacks, all with advantage, dealing 1d12 plus 5. Or if you get any additional things that might up that unarmed strike damage. Constantly. For 9 turns. That is a huge pile of damage you can add on. You can tunnel something and really do a number on them. Just wreak havoc on a creature by doing that for 9 turns with advantage because you are invisible. They cannot see you. It is an unseen attacker. It's awesome. You're in darkness when you do it. If you're a Dhampir, you can just bite and bite and bite. And you can just claw and rip and tear and just mock and just like really abuse this like torrent of shadowy malice that you've become. It is so cool. It's a wonderful ability. I think it's amazing. I would do anything for them to rework these sub-talent abilities to bring that back down to the lower level where they had it previously in 1D&D, because this would be insane. This would make this the #1 class played, in my opinion. I don't understand how you can see this ability and play a campaign going up to 17th level and go, yeah, you know what? I'm going to be a monk. Like, it's just, it makes sense. I don't know how you could deny yourself that wonderful abuse of darkness. The Warrior of the Elements is the improved Wear the 4 Elements monk. This monk, the Wear the 4 Elements monk, was just really poorly executed. The ideas were there, but it really just kind of fell apart in a lot of ways. It was kind of a mess, and it's really a shame. But they made this pretty incredible. Right off the bat, you get Elemental Attunement. which gives you the elementalism cantrip, which I gotta be honest with you, I just don't know what purpose you would really have for that cantrip. But it does also give you the ability to spend 1 discipline point to imbue yourself with elemental energy. The energy lasts for 10 minutes or until you have the incapacitated condition. But during that time, you gain the elemental strikes. Whenever you hit with unarmed strike, you can cause it to deal your choice of acid, cold, fire, or lightning damage types rather than its normal damage type. And when you deal these damage types, you can use your unarmed strike to move a creature 10 feet either towards you or away from you as elemental energy swirls around it. They can make a strength saving throw to resist it, but more often than not, this is going to be every turn or not, so you can pretty much use this pretty liberally and get that effect at some point. You also gain reach, so your unarmed strikes now reach out 10 feet greater than normal as the elemental energy extends from you. I'd have to run this by your DMs because 10 feet greater in my mind means you have an attack range of 15 feet because your normal attack range is 5 feet, and 10 feet greater makes this 15 feet, which is a big improvement. At 6th level, you get Environmental Burst. As a magic action, you can spend 2 discipline points to cause the environmental energy to burst in a 20-foot radius sphere centered on a point within 120 feet of yourself. Choose a damage type, acid, cold, fire, or lightning. Each creature in the sphere must make a dexterity saving throw. On a failed save, the creature takes damage of the chosen type equal to 3 rolls of your martial arts die. On a successful save, the creature takes half damage, and before or after you take this action, you can make 1 unarmed strike as a bonus action. So, here's the cool thing. A, you could punch and then basically throw a fireball. It's that big of a radius. The damage dice won't equal to a fireball, but that is still a huge AoE, and it deals half damage on a successful save. So you're always doing damage, and it's a big area. That's a pretty cool thing to compensate for not really having a lot of AoE attacks as a monk. That's pretty intense, to be fair, and that's a huge AoE. You're going to be seeing that come out a lot, and plus you can punch somebody really hard in the face before or after. You gain 2 more abilities. You gain the Stride of the Elements ability, which gives you a fly speed and a swim speed equal to your normal speed for 10 minutes whenever you use your Step of the Wind ability, which on its own is pretty great. A 10-minute fly speed for 1 discipline point is pretty intense. And then the final ability you get is Elemental Epitome. This is an advancement of your Elemental Attunement. So when you use your Elemental Attunement, which is the 3rd level ability that you get for first choosing the subclass, you gain additional benefits. You gain damage resistance to a damage type of your choice out of acid, cold, fire, or lightning, and at the start of your turn you can change this choice. So that's a great thing. It's no action required, it's just on passively, which is pretty great. And then you get Destructive Stride. So when you use your Step of the Wind, your speed increases by 20 feet until the end of the turn. For that duration, any creature of your choice that takes damage, takes damage equal to 1 roll of your martial arts die when they enter a space within 5 feet of it. This damage is the same type as chosen for this feature's damage resistance. A creature can take this damage only once per turn. This is a little funky to hear. It doesn't read very well. It's just kind of wild. For me, it seems like when you take this stride, when you use that movement, anyone that gets put in 5 feet within that line takes this damage. It's not really worded well, so it's kind of hard to really picture. No matter how many times I read it, I always get stuck. It just doesn't click for me. But I gotta imagine it's when you take that movement, anyone either that follows that line or gets close to it would then take damage, and a creature can only take that damage once per turn. Doesn't say how long it lasts either. It's just very confusing. They have to rewrite that. It kind of makes no sense, but I kind of think of it as like when you're running, you leave a trail of flame behind you. Or if you played League of Legends, like Singe's ability where he leaves the poison behind him. And then you also get Empowered Strikes. Once on each of your turns, you can deal extra damage to a target equal to one roll of your martial arts die. And this only happens when you hit with an unarmed strike. The damage is the same type chosen for this feature's damage resistance. That's just an additional roll of damage. So at one point, you'll just do 2d12 of whatever damage type you choose. And again, you can choose your damage type because of elemental attunement. Warrior of the Hand. This replaces the Way of the Open Hand Monk. This is actually, they've got a lot of cool things going on here. Some of it's basically the same, but the improvements that they made are pretty cool. First and foremost, when you join this subclass at 3rd level, when you use your Flurry of Blows, you can impose a different effect. Adel, the target must succeed on Constitution saving throw, or it can't take reactions until the end of your next turn, which is pretty great because you can use your movement to walk away. You don't need to worry about disengage. If you do this against casters, they can't counterspell anybody. And on top of that, this is just a rider on the additional damage from your Flurry of Blows. You can push, which you push the target up to 15 feet away from yourself. They must succeed a strength saving throw to resist this effect. Or you can topple them. The target must make a dexterity saving throw, or it has the prone condition. It doesn't say that it has to be any particular one. It does say that you can't choose because it is one of the attacks granted. So if you're going to try and topple them, my advice to you is try and do it on the first attack so your second attack has advantage. You gain another new ability called Wholeness of Body. You gain the ability to heal yourself as a bonus action. You spend 1 discipline point and roll your martial arts die, and you gain a number of hit points equal to the number rolled plus your wisdom modifier, and you can use this a number of times equal to your wisdom modifier, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest, which is pretty great because you do get a free way to heal yourself in case maybe the healer's down low on resources, or you don't have any health potions, or it's just you and you're kind of isolated in a situation where no one else can heal you. A bonus action, throw up some HP and do whatever you can to get out of that fight, or maybe just run or take the dash action, do something. It's a good option in those dire scenarios where a roll of hit points can really make a difference. You also gain at 11th level Fleet Step. You can easily stride out of harm's way. You can use the Step of the Wind option of your martial discipline features without spending any discipline points. This is passive. This is always on. This turns you into a true skirmisher. At 11th level, which is a level that you will hit pretty regularly playing most campaigns, you will become a character that runs up, hits twice, runs away. This will keep you out of harm's way from any martial enemies, any enemies that fight up front, anything like that, any enemies that would be messing around with other tanks or be necessary to keep separate from other people. Run up, punch, 2d10 plus 10, unless you have any additional things that might increase that. Step of the Wind for free, walk away. And do that and save yourself hit points. They'd have to use range attacks to hit you, and you have deflect missile and deflect energy later on, so you can really make yourself a hit and run kind of a tactic and take advantage of your move speed. This will change the way you play a monk because you get this base no matter what. It's the mobility feat without anything to worry about. If you run up and miss or whatever, this is just a free bonus action to get out of dodge. It's viable, it's very profound, and it's a free bonus action that you always have on. You could use it offensively to get to a more dangerous opponent. You can run all the way across battle maps. It's a very unique improvement on a feature that I think is going to be strong anyway. And then finally you get Quivering Palm, and that basically stays the same way, except it's 10d12 plus your monk level of force damage if they fail the saves. And you can only do it to one creature at a time. And you can also just decide to end the vibrations whenever you want. With all that said and done, we're going to bring this video to a close. The monk is incredible. All these improvements make it so dynamically stronger, so much more interesting and exciting to play. I can't wait to see some of the other improvements in the subclasses that come through. It is a eye-opener to the monk, and I'm so excited to play one, and I really hope to get the opportunity to do so soon. That is just such a different version of the monk we all know, and I'm super pumped for it. It's incredible. I really encourage you guys to play it. That being said, if you made it this far into the video, definitely hit that like button. Definitely hit that subscribe button. Again, we're trying to hit our goal of 2,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and we cannot do it without you. And we really love all the support we gain from all of you guys. A big thank you to our Patreon supporters. We love you guys. If you're interested in becoming a Patreon supporter, the link is in the description. And a big thank you to our good friends at Dice Legion. Use the promo code Sinister and get 10% off all your purchases. And with all that said and done, thank you for giving a spooky kid a chance.